Hi everyone, it's Anisa here, and I'm a hypnotherapist and holistic healing practitioner specializing in helping people to heal from toxic relationships and really start to call in divine relationships into their lives. So, today I'm discussing how does gaslighting affect your mental health? So, firstly, I want to explain what gaslighting is if you're watching and you haven't heard of this term before. So, gaslighting was actually a term that was coined when there was a husband and a wife, and the husband was affecting the light bulbs in the house, turning them brighter and dimmer. And the wife would say, that lights changed or something is different. And the husband would say, nope, that's not what's happening. You're imagining things, you're going crazy. So essentially, he was playing with her mind and making her think that what she was seeing and what she was believing was not true. And what this did was it made her not believe herself and feel like she was going crazy. So, this is where the term gaslighting actually comes from. Now, how does gaslighting play in toxic or narcissistic relationships? How does it play a role? In these kinds of relationships, the person who is the partner of this toxic person or the child or the sibling or the relative, they're often made to feel that what they're seeing or witnessing or experiencing is not what they believe. And this is actually a form of mental manipulation and emotional abuse. And it keeps the other person thinking that there's something wrong with them. And by keeping them feeling like they're crazy or they're imagining things, that person is unable to actually expose and understand that they're dealing with a toxic or narcissistic person. So, when someone is being gaslit, firstly, from a scientific perspective, it changes your brain. It changes your brain because you now start to think that you're imagining things or that you haven't remembered things properly or that you're losing your mind. And you start to tell yourself things like, oh, I'm just, I'm silly, or I always forget things, or I always muddle things up, or I never get that right. And I've heard so many people who've come out of narcissistic and toxic relationships, they talk about how their brain feels like mush. They talk about how they can't remember the last time they made a decision or they did something that was an indication of their independence or their strength because they're actually made to feel like they're losing their mind in these relationships. And it's by design because the more that the toxic person gaslights the other person and makes them feel like they're crazy, then the more dependent you become on the toxic person to make decisions for you and to tell you what you're thinking and what you're feeling. And that plays right into the trap of the toxic person. So that's one way that it affects you mentally. You just start to talk about yourself very poorly. You stop exercising autonomy, you stop exercising your personal power, and you stop feeling empowered. You become very disempowered in this kind of relationship. The second thing it does is it creates immense amount of self-doubt. So when you feel like you can't be trusted, like your mind is making up things, or you're not sure, you can't judge something because you're being gaslit, it creates a lot of mistrust in yourself. You don't know if what you're saying is correct. You don't know if what you're perceiving or judging is correct. And this is why people who have come out of toxic relationships or they have a toxic parent, they end up attracting more toxic relationships, more toxic people into their lives because they're basically told that what you're seeing about a toxic person is wrong. That's not the right thing that's happening. So they start to really doubt their judgment and their discernment, and that leads to all kinds of issues that leaves them very vulnerable and very exposed to other toxic people. And the last thing is that when someone is gaslit, they can prolong a toxic relationship. They'll stay in there and continue being abused because they don't have the confirmation that they need. They don't have someone else that's going to come in and say, yes, you're right, this person is toxic. Yes, this person is doing this, because they're now so confused and they don't know what to believe. So it could take them ages to even admit that there is something wrong because they're embarrassed about feeling crazy. They're embarrassed about this manipulative toxic person coming out and saying that they're a liar, or that they're the one who's being abusive. So these feelings of just not even knowing what to say, it keeps them stuck in these toxic relationships, and it does prolong the abuse. So these are some ways that gaslighting can mentally and emotionally affect you. And if you're being gaslit, you would really benefit right now from starting a journal, starting to write down your feelings so that you know that what you're writing is factual, and that if a toxic person is around you, that they can't gaslight you into changing what you see and changing what you believe. Find a support person who has been through toxic relationships. You can come talk to me, of course, because that is really important. Most people who haven't experienced a toxic person or narcissist would think that so many of these things are far-fetched, and they're not really. Gaslighting is just a key component of narcissistic relationships. So take care out there, and remember that I run one of the only transformation blueprints that focuses on holistic healing from narcissistic relationships and toxic relationships. If you're interested, do reach out through email, WhatsApp, or Messenger. I'm sending you so much of love and blessings wherever you're watching this from. Take care.